But I don't want to. I don't want a long distance relationship, Jeff.
Too bad, motherfucker. Like,
Okay, welcome to the Love Drive podcast, everybody. My name is Shaun Galloway, and our guest today is none other than social media therapist to the stars, Therapy Jeff. Very fun episode. Lots of quippy, sassy advice. And then we go into some more deeper stuff as well, especially personally speaking. So today we talk about the male loneliness epidemic, why men still aren't going to therapy and who's partly to blame, Scott Galloway as a red pill gateway, the manosphere / red pill, black pill stuff, the real cost of rejection in dating, small town dating, and how to ask for a first kiss without being weird about it. And as always, we start with how we're actually doing, and neither of us hold back. So please enjoy this conversation with Therapy Jeff. So everybody, Therapy Jeff is here. Do you want to just give just a quick intro?
you know me as Therapy Jeff on Instagram and TikTok. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been a therapist for over 20 years. I live in Portland, Oregon. That's where I see clients. I'm not accepting clients. Don't reach out. And I mostly online talk about relationships. It skews monogamous, my content, but I like to talk about non-monogamous and alternative relationships too. And the folks that I see are typically in for like relationship counseling or couples counseling, stuff like that.
Well, living in Portland, there is a little bit of, alternative relationship structures out there.
There's a lot.
It's probably helpful to have some intel on non-monogamy and polyamory and
Yeah, I mean, if you're a relationship therapist in Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, whatever liberal progressive cities, whether you like it or not, you're going to start talking to folks that are in polycules and non-monogamous relationships or anarchy or whatever it is. So you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I have some topics that I want to discuss with you today. Mainly, I want to jam on masculinity.
I love jamming on that.
I bet. Yeah. The male loneliness epidemic. And then also how that relates to dating and relationship structures. And
sure,
I've got some Q&A. I've got some areas that we can sort of jam on there. Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to tell me how you're doing.
Yes. Okay. So it's December 10th. On December 8th, a couple of days ago on Monday morning of December 8th, me and my girlfriend took a flight down to LA. That's where I grew up in Los Angeles. That's where my whole family is because my aunt passed away pretty suddenly. The most stressful, anxious part about that is that I haven't seen or talked to my mother or sister or brother-in-law for 4 years.
Wow.
So it's a lot like, why isn't Jeff talking to his family? What's wrong with Jeff sort of narrative. So it's like, fucking stepping into this bullshit. I don't want to. There's also I want to have a conversation with every single one of them being like, let me fucking tell you what's really going on. But also it's a funeral. And even if it wasn't a funeral, I don't want to have that fucking conversation. I'm bringing my girlfriend and they haven't, we've been together for a couple of years, but nobody's met her. So she's this very sort of mysterious figure that I'm bringing down to Los Angeles to the funeral. And she's being very sweet and supportive. But I was anxious the whole time. Do I say hello to my mother? Do I say hi to my sister and my brother-in-law? Do I interact with their kids? I like their kids. I used to be close with my niece, but are they going to say hi to me? Do I let them make that move? There's just so many questions. And so you're going into it just sort of trying to read the vibe. My mom was I saw her first and I was like, oh, she's making eye contact with me. And I think she's trying to sustain eye contact with me to figure out if she should come up and say hello to me. And my girlfriend's just, being a sweetie and I'm venting to her about it. And then there's my sister, who's a slightly older sister, and her husband. They've been together for 30 years. So I've known them since they got together in high school.
Right.
They're high school sweethearts and then we're together forever. And so he was this sort of older brother figure to me. So there was this part that's just like, if I talk to anybody or if anybody comes up to me, I hope it's that guy. But that whole family, my mom, my sister, brother-in-law, the kids, we all stayed on opposite ends of the room, whether it was like anyways, the funeral, nobody's talking to anybody, and that's fine. And then 2 hours go by. I have to go because I have to me and my girlfriend have to get back to LAX because the plane leaves in 4.5 hours, and that's way too close for comfort.
Yeah,
so we start before we drive off, we get in the car, we're sitting there waiting for people to pass by us so that I can pull out. And my mother is sort of walking towards the car. My brother-in-law is sort of walking towards the car. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to talk to my girlfriend and look away, have them just pass by. And then all of a sudden there's a knock on my window, and I turn and it's my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law has these big eyes and he's a very friendly looking fellow. And he gives the signal, roll down the window. And my girlfriend's sitting in the passenger seat. He's knocking on my window. I roll it down and he looks at me and says, "Hey, you're a fucking asshole."
Oh, boy.
And I roll it down thinking that this is going to be a peace offering or a, "Hey, I see you," sort of "I love you," kind of, whether you say it or not, I don't know. But he said, "Hey, you're a fucking asshole." And that was so shocking to me. And right when he said that, my girlfriend, again, who they've never met, sort of lunges over me and says, "Hey, fuck you, get the fuck out of here." And she's out of nowhere, just defends me and starts yelling at him. And he's shocked and he just walks away. So I was I didn't really get to say anything because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But I felt so protected by my girlfriend. It just sort of happened. She wasn't even able to control herself. And I always wanted somebody to stand up for me in the family. And so there was something that felt really healing about that. There was also something that felt really upsetting that the guy, the brother-in-law, who I thought we were maybe we're on sort of good terms, possibly, he was the one out of everybody who said "Hey, you're a fucking asshole." So then we leave. And it's that thing, I don't know if you've experienced this, Shaun, where a thing happens that you weren't expecting, even though you were what if I do talk to my family? What will I say? How will I say it? What are the zingers or what are the emotional things I'd want to get out or whatever? I didn't have any time to actually say that. So the whole rest of the driving to LAX, which we barely made the fucking plane, and then being on the plane and going back to Portland, is just me and my girlfriend ruminating about oh, what could I have said? What would have even been better? Been okay, thanks, fucking failed child actor, get the fuck out of here. Or some sort, that wouldn't have been good at all, right? But there's a part of you,
of course,
that just you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's a lot. I have a few things to say if I may.
You may.
One is I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I think it's hard to lose people who we think fondly of.
Yes.
I think it's even hard to lose people that we don't think fondly of, right? It's not an easy thing. So that, and then I'm also just sad by the whole situation, it's a funeral where we're supposed to be right, grieving the aunt, and then there's all this other stuff happening. But you mentioned all the anxiety of, do I say something? Is she going to look at me? Is all this stuff? How do you deal with that anxiety?
I mean, I'm a real planner of anxiety. I'm just okay, I know myself well enough to know when I'm going to feel anxious about specific things. I used to have every now and then sort of severe anxiety or panic attacks. Well, yeah, especially when I was younger, I would have lots of panic attacks immediately so that I would faint. So there was no, I did a lot of fainting. My body would just be we're playing dead. We're protecting you. You're gone from this, from here. And it was very silly stuff. I thought I was always afraid. I was afraid that if a friend was going to get hurt, that was really scary for me and I would faint. So if somebody was going to get hurt. So I played a lot of sports and I would just sort of faint on the ground in the field. It was a thing. And then eventually this, I was able to slow that down and feel my anxiety before it just hijacked me. And then it kind of turned into a fear of being seen or a fear of public speaking, sort of classic ones. And now it's the anxiety will come up if I'm in these really strange, emotionally pressurized situations, at this funeral with my family, yada, yada. And there's a lot of things. There's kind of like, I'm going to make sure that I am regulating my nervous system the best way I can. So I'm going to try to stay cool. I'm going to not overheat. I'm going to like do deep breathing, just like real body stuff shit, which is like 80% of it for me.
I know. For a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's also like, that took a while for me to like realize and integrate and then do that. If I just manage my body, then I'm way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, I used to be a real anticipatory anxiety guy where I'm just constantly thinking of all the things that I'm going to have to do, all the worst case scenarios. Eventually I was like, you know what? Like, if I'm going to freak out, I'm going to wait and see if I actually freak out. I'm not going to freak out beforehand. If I'm going to have an anxiety attack, I'll have it in the moment when I should be having it, not pre-having an anxiety attack. Like, I may actually be okay. I may be able to like manage everything. I typically do. So let's see if there's something to freak out about. And if there is, I will allow myself to faint or scream or run away or do whatever I need to do. And that usually makes me feel a lot better going into the situation. And then if I have a buddy, my girlfriend, a friend, a cousin that I really love that's going to be there that I can talk to, I just like stick to my buddy. And that usually helps out.
Well, it's good that you had your girlfriend to stick up for you in case you fainted.
She could catch me. Yes.
or protect you or whatever. Are you okay with switching gears?
Yeah, let's switch it up.
I do want to say that you mentioned that your brother-in-law, you and him have a simpler relationship, right? It's not fraught, or it was at least until a few days ago.
Yes.
It's not fraught with all this other stuff. And so I'm wondering, this seems like a good time to kind of transition into talking about men. Is it because men are just kind of simpler creatures that we're able to have these simpler conversations or relationships with them?
You know, it depends. I'm not going to be able to like quote the research or something or give you like the actual scientific like nuggets, but there has been a lot of research and science comparing like man brains to women brains.
Uh-huh.
And it does seem like the man brains, I don't know, kind of are a little simpler in that they're not as, our like brain hemispheres are not as connected as like the women brain hemispheres, which makes it so that like we don't process emotions as much or in a more complicated or nuanced sort of way, that we just like don't have as many neural pathways. So like our frontal lobe, there's not as many like neural pathways from our frontal lobe to our amygdala or to the limbic system that holds all the emotions. So if like a scientist maybe wanted to make the case for like, well, men's brains are made differently, sure. And that means that like they don't process emotions in the same way. Yeah. And is it because like they just don't have like as much access to it as women do? Possibly. Is there some sort of like, you know, evolutionary psychology reason for this? Likely. But when you go down the like evolutionary psychology rabbit hole, it's real easy to get sexist or racist. Like it's real like, well, this is how like men were like hunters and gatherers and we were like meant to spread our seed. So this is what we're going to fucking do. Like as if we don't have agency over that now, as if we don't have control. Like this is just how we're biologically wired. Whatever, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
sorry, I cheated. Actually, it's just how it is.
Nothing I can do. Right. Going against my DNA. Like I don't believe that. But I'm like interested in the evolutionary psychology of it all. So I think, sure, probably are men like simpler? I think it might be yes, but it's mostly because of the patriarchy. It's mostly because of like cultural conditioning. And It's not like we can't do something about it. But like men being men, it historically has really served us in this sort of like, I don't have to emotionally evolve or be like a really emotionally intelligent partner because if I'm, you know, attracted to women, if I'm heterosexual and I want to be with a woman, then the woman historically has needed me for access to a credit card or mortgage or resources, right? That's, you know, has been getting flipped. That's been like trending the other way, which has like made it so that men maybe have to like actually step up and be good partners in different ways.
Yeah.
Some have done it. Many have not. And it's an interesting time that we're in.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. And there was lots of like patriarchy going on back then that I was unaware of that was influencing me. And my relationships with my guy friends, I only had like friendships with boys when I was a boy. Those felt really simple. And those were like based on kind of like power dynamics of where we all ranked in the friend group, or who had the alcohol, or who had the drugs, or who had the Nintendo, or who had access to girls or something. Like there was
status.
It was, yes, exactly. It was all based on status, and that was very easy to understand. And if our feelings got hurt, you didn't say anything about it, but you might get punched in the chest or something if somebody was, So like it felt more simple because I didn't have to like develop complicated emotional language. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, you bring up a bunch of good points. I'm actually I'm just thinking to my current male relationships that I have in my life now, and how it's actually more complicated to be in a simple relationship when something isn't going well.
Right.
Because it's harder to access what's actually wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has come up, not personally with my male friends, but I have a friend whose male partner just basically shuts down whenever anything challenging comes up. And he starts speaking in a low voice, and it's just frustrating because she really wants to be there for him, and she wants him to use his voice and to vocalize what's wrong so that they can feel even more connected and more intimate. And it just feels like when you don't have the ability to talk about what's going on in your internal landscape and your emotional insides, it's kind of limiting to the depth of the relationship.
Yeah, and to the depth of your life. I feel like you don't get to experience life, like the full spectrum of life, the rainbow of emotions that are out there to be experienced. So I feel like that's also pretty limiting as well.
I am thinking about my male friendships, and I do have several men who I'm able to just really open up to. One in particular who just started like last year, fell into the NVC, the nonviolent communication,
sure.
Yeah. And now he's like surpassed me in talking about needs and making requests and like really validating my experience. And he's the kind of guy that now when you say something sad will go like, and I'm like, dude, when did you start doing that? Like he used to be the guy, Brian, I love you. You used to be the guy who would like kind of call me gay if I, shared something of an emotional nature, but it's made our relationship much more closer, and we're able to support each other in a way that feels really good. And I was actually threatened by it. It felt threatening to be in a relationship where they seem to be able to access more emotional intelligence and maturity than I am. So now I'm feeling like maybe a lot of men feel in a heterosexual relationship where their female partner seems to be able to talk about and access and discuss things that are emotional in nature more than I can. And so then I feel like I'm on the back foot, and I feel a little bit more defensive, and I'm the one who kind of loses my voice.
Interesting. Do you have, well, I was going to say guy friends, but any gender friends that can't really get really deep? And do you value those friendships? Do you enjoy having those friendships?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know that I would prioritize those relationships because I'm much more likely to jump into how are you doing? How's your heart? What's hard for you these days? Conversation than like, how's your bench?
I do have a few guys in my life that really mostly talk about basketball, or I play video games with them, or we get a drink and eat wings, real, guy stuff. And while maybe I don't see them very often, I see them pretty consistently. And there is a bit of like, oh, this is nice. I'm on a little vacation.
Yeah.
Like we're just talking about the Portland Trailblazers for the last hour and a half, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I have so much to say about them. And I know where the guardrails are, and I'm not going to try to fucking open up to them about some complicated family issue. It's pointless, and I will just be disappointed. So I know where those guardrails are, and they're sort of relieving in a way. Do you experience that?
I mean, I like where you're going with this, and I think I also have spaces where I am not going deep. Like I volunteer at a bike shop every Tuesday night, and all we do is we talk about bikes
Yeah.
and
great.
bike paths and tires with studs and the
Sure.
benefits of oval cranks and regular cranks and that's just it's fun, it's fun. But also these people, if they say how you doing, I go, man, not so good, they'll be like, oh, what's going on, like they're able to also go there.
Yeah.
And so I think I would just feel so limited with people who aren't able to kind of switch just to check in and say, I see you, also I need your help with this tire, right? Like
right.
I like to be able to kind of jump in and out of that kind of stuff. All right. How do we get more straight men to do therapy? You're like a social media therapist to the stars. You must have some thoughts on like why aren't straight men going to therapy and how do we invite them into those spaces?
I'm still mostly at a loss. Do you know who Scott Galloway is?
Yeah, he was later in my interview notes.
Oh, really?
What's your beef with Scott Galloway?
Yeah.
I saw the video that you made. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah, I made a video, then he made a comment on the video, then he wrote an article calling out TikTok therapists, and I made a response to that. It's basically a rap battle. It's very intense, but maybe not at all. I think like he is so appealing to men, and I think, he's trying, at least his intention is like directed at like more liberal progressive guys. So he like says he's not part of the manosphere, and he's not like a Nick Fuentes or Charlie Kirk type. Or
background on Scott Galloway, he's an NYU professor.
He is
of business.
Economics.
And I think he's very, very wealthy. He sold a company called Pivot, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a podcast with, what's her name?
Yep. I don't remember, but her. And he wrote a book, Notes on Men, I think, or something like that. He's been doing a book tour.
Right.
And he is very good at being on a podcast, telling a story. He's engaging. He's got the facts.
He hammers home his talking points.
Oh my God, he's so fucking good. If I was that good, I'd have just as much money as he does. I have a different type of like style that I'm good at. So while he's not like the manosphere, I do think that he can sort of act as like a pipeline to being red pilled, because he's like, he can acknowledge that like men need to level up emotionally, but he's like, what's most important is that a man has a wife or a girlfriend, a partner, because that will make them feel solid in life. That will make them feel of value. If a man can feel like a provider, and he'll go back into like the evolutionary psychology of it all, then they feel like they are worthy and they won't kill themselves or they won't fall into depression as long as they have a woman there to like be in a relationship with. They live longer if they're married, like all those sorts of statistics. So he's just like, go to the gym, bro. Fucking lift those weights. Use alcohol to lubricate yourself just a little bit at least, and like talk to fucking girls, my guy. It's never like develop yourself emotionally and learn how to like create community with other men, like be happy on your own. It's sort of like, and he'll even point out how like women don't need, they say, like the research says that women don't need men in relationships as much. They can like find community and they can be okay. And even if they're lonely, they're not going to like shoot up a fucking school, whatever. So, but like a man will, so women have to save them kind of vibe.
Men need women more than women need men in a relationship. Was sort of one of his talking points.
That is very much one of his talking points. Anyways, I say this in response to your question. It is connected, I promise. Like, how do you get men to go into therapy? We have to get rid of the Scott Galloways. Because like it's that sort of message that makes it so that like men are like, oh, I just need to get a job. Oh, I just need to get rich. Oh, I just need to like be a bro about it.
Go to the gym.
Go to the gym. Right. And when I go to the gym, and I feel good when I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like there is a benefit, but I'm not like growing emotionally. My endorphins are kicking in. I'm getting some dopamine hits, but there's like a real lack of me evolving relationally. Right. So there's like him and other folks that are just like still sending a message that therapy actually isn't that valuable. He even goes down the rabbit hole of like therapy is only for rich people. It's way too fucking expensive. True.
You agree. We agree.
We agree. But, fucking whatever. Medicare for all. Let's change the system or whatever. It's not about capitalism. So I think more folks like you and I need to keep on like preaching and showing like the benefits of emotional development and how it like really enhances our world in and out of relationships. But, you know, like if you give a guy a shortcut, whether it's like I'm going to get red pilled or black pilled and just be angry and misogynistic instead of growing, doing the difficult work of growing, then he's going to do that. Even the guys that are becoming gooners. Do you know what a gooner is?
Dude, what's a gooner? What's black pill? Where did the black pill come from?
Well, we all know what the red pill is, but the black pill is kind of like the next level up where not only are you like red pilled where like women are the worst, but you're black pilled in that like the world is going to end. Like there's no fucking use growing or changing or anything. Like let's actually like black pillars are also like want to accelerate the end of the world. Let's vote for Trump. That's hilarious. That sort of thing. Like let's just like stay online and be horrible.
So like a bit of a nihilism.
Very nihilistic.
We're all fucked anyways, so let's just make it worse, kind of chaos agents.
That, but like LOL, it's hilarious. Like so like everything's a meme sort of thing. And then the gooners are just like you've probably heard about them. They just masturbate all the time. They masturbate for like 8 hours straight. They have like 20 screens that they're looking at. They're pornosexuals. Do you know what a pornosexual is?
I have not heard about the gooners.
Oh God, you gotta fucking check them out.
I've been under a rock for a couple of years, man. It's been great. You should try it.
Yeah, a pornosexual is somebody who claims that their sexual identity is just like they're in relationship with porn. They do not want a person. They do not want a girlfriend. They do not want a wife. They do not want a partner. They're getting all of their sexual needs met from porn and they're just gooning all the time, which is just masturbating.
Man, my sexual experiences with women have been far and away so much more interesting and fun and exciting than jerking off to porn all day, every day.
I really worry that like, while I'm not a gooner or whatever, like I think I have like a pretty healthy relationship with porn. God, if I was just born 5 years, 10 years earlier, I'd be fucked. I feel like I'd be fucked. I'd have like a real weird relationship with porn. It would have like influenced
You mean later?
me.
Born later?
If I was born later, sorry.
Yeah.
If I was born later, yes. God, like growing up as like a teenager now with the access that they have. So why not just like masturbate to porn instead of going to therapy, which is already hard to access. Even if you can access, it's hard to find a therapist that's a good fit. Oh my God, it's so fucking annoying.
I will say, not to brag or anything, but I've only had 2 therapists in my life. One that I had for 4 years, one that I've currently have for 7 years.
You're lucky.
I think I must just be lucky. I was like, this is a good fit. Let's just go. I didn't really feel like shopping therapists, but also, I don't know, maybe there are more bad therapists now.
Yeah, probably. And even like, I think that clients, I think it's good, but I think that clients have like more specific requirements for a therapist now. So
I was like, I just need therapy. And she was like, I'm a therapist.
Okay. Yeah, that works.
And now 7 years later, 7 years in with the same person almost every week, you know, like we have a relationship. Like she's effectively my mom now.
That's good shit.
It is good shit. And then like, I remember this week I was like, what are we even doing here? You know, like what have I accomplished in these 7 years? And she's like, well, I would love to tell you. And then she like told me some things that I'm now able to do that I wasn't able to do. You know, like I used to eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's because I wasn't well, but I didn't know why I wasn't well.
Sure.
Now I know why I'm not well. And so I can eat the pint, but also work on the piece underneath it. And she's like, that's huge. That
is huge.
That's massive. You're able to like recognize what else is going on in your internal world.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, like there are lots of times where it is trending in the right direction, where therapy, you know, just fucking before the pandemic, there was more stigma for therapy than there is now, right? I don't like the therapy apps, the big therapy apps. I'm not going to name you.
No.
I won't name names. But those big therapy apps did create a lot of podcast commercials that are fucking annoying as fuck, but did overall lower the stigma of going to therapy because of capitalism, because they wanted to make money off of your depression. But still, like it has trended in the right direction.
Also, I will say, we need more male therapists.
We do. There's that.
Just like we need more male school teachers, because the impact of having a teacher or a therapist that you can identify with is huge.
And if you're in a heterosexual couple and you're shopping for a couples counselor, really check out those male therapists. Like, I automatically have a rapport with the guys that are coming in just because we're men, just because we're bros, and I exploit that, and in like the most therapeutic way possible. So think about seeing a man relationship therapist.
Okay. Yeah, they'll be on your side, brother.
Exactly.
Don't worry, they're gonna see right through her bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Then you can gang up on her.
Uh-huh.
Actually, my first therapist was a man, and we were in couples counseling. I was 22 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Good for you.
we wanted to make it work.
Yeah.
And
that's
I got
sweet.
sober, and she got sober. I got sober through AA. She found Al-Anon because we have, things, and we're both healthier because of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Bless Dr. J. Talkoff.
Thanks, Jay Talkoff.
All right, we're switching gears to dating real quick. Small town dating. What can people in small towns who struggle with dating do when they've exhausted the supply? This is a question that I get every now and then, and I'm like kind of at a loss of how to answer it, other than fucking move, but
Sure.
But also people, when they live in a good community where they feel love and taken care of and seen by everybody on a daily basis, like that is important. That means a lot, and that's really good for mental health. And picking up and moving to a big city can be really, really isolating and triggering and traumatic.
Have you thought about becoming a pornosexual and just gooning it all day long? You can just masturbate.
Well, these are women that are asking these questions.
Well, we need more women gooners. I think that's going to be my new platform. More women that are just gooning all day long.
I think you're starting to phone it in a little bit with your therapy thing. So I think it's good to pivot.
Yeah. This feels like a real, like, you got to have like some sort of practical answer to it. And there's no like real good practical answer, right? One is, like you're saying, move. But like, if you don't want to leave your community, that's completely understandable. The other is make your filters on the dating apps even further, right?
But I don't want a long distance relationship, Jeff.
Too bad, motherfucker. Like, this
fucking move.
Yeah, the move. So you like start to be open to having a longer distance relationship, or what? Like, change your standards for
lower
the
your
people
standards.
lower
your standards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are your three options.
And then just be single and date yourself, or don't.
Well, and grieve.
And grieve, right?
Grieve the relationship that you want to have that you're not able to have.
Or we can get like real, if you're into being like real woo and spiritual about it.
Home wreck.
Home wreck? What's home wreck?
That's where you go and you steal someone else's partner.
Okay. I thought that was like a spiritual practice. That's just home wrecking. You could do a home wreck. Always an option.
We're starting to see how many options there are, actually.
Yeah. You could just like do like some of that, like, remember like The Secret, Law of Attraction, manifestation.
Yeah, call it in.
But like, go ahead and be like, you know what? There's only 3 shitty options, 4 if you count home wrecking.
Yeah.
I'm not going, like, I physically as a person cannot figure this out. I'm going to hand it over to the universe. And the universe gets to decide how my person is going to come into my life. I'm not going to fucking bother about it or even like devote any brain power to it. The universe is going to put that person in my reality into a place where like I'm like, oh, this is my new person. They come into the grocery store or they move next to me, whatever the fuck it is. So it's not even my responsibility anymore.
5 options.
There's a 5th option.
That's pretty good.
Problem solved, motherfucker.
I think so. Yeah. Nice work. That was very effective. I'm partial to number 4.
That's the most exciting. And you get to like play around with your morals and ethics.
Your shadow
of it
side.
all.
No, it's shadow side. It's my shadow side.
I like that reframe. Yeah.
Okay. We're sticking with the topic of men and dating now. Dating requires men to face way more rejection than women typically do, at least in terms of initiating.
Okay.
How does repeated rejection shape men's approach to dating?
Oh. Interesting. And even, I mean, this is maybe not just like
we could go anywhere. We can go anywhere.
Yeah. There's a part of me that wants to be like, do men really get more rejected? But fine, sure. Let's say they do. I think you can make a case for it.
Well, let's make a case. Don't you think that men are required to initiate way more than women are? Yeah, well, you live in Portland, so.
Sure. But I think you have to like take into consideration that like just the act of putting yourself out there, if you're a woman or a man or whoever, like even like making a dating profile, if you're a woman, that's putting yourself out there. And not getting as many likes as you want or replies from men, like that's also rejections too. There's also like micro rejections that are happening on the apps. You like somebody that you don't hear from them. You send a message, you don't hear from them. You plan a date, they don't follow through. Like lots of little rejections. I think that like, women, everybody are feeling a lot of rejections, but there is like you're right that there is sort of like the expectation of like, well, men should make the first move. But I think that women make the even more first move of like being like, I'm available. And you can see it physically happening in a bar or something. Like a woman will like make eyes at you, signaling that like maybe you can go up and do a flirt or something. And then if a woman makes eyes at you and you don't go there, then they've just been rejected. You know what
Have
I mean?
you ever gone up to a woman at a bar because she made eyes at you?
I have, but this was a long time ago. Have you not?
I don't go to bars.
Well,
I'm going to a bar for a first date. I don't drink, but I'll go to a bar for a first date because it's
I didn't do it at bars. I did it at like shows, like a concert or something.
I don't go up to people in loud environments because I'm like noise sensitive and it's just kind of an awkward situation.
That's true.
And I'm a little shy, nervous in that way, even though I kind of present pretty confident. And I will talk to anybody at like a grocery store, a thrift store, a gym, like yoga. But if it's a loud environment, like it's just not the best place, I think, to flirt and initiate contact.
It is true. It is more difficult.
Even though that's kind of, people are kind of expecting to be approached in places like that.
Right. If we're in a place where it's okay and you're expecting to be approached and I'm single and I'm looking, then like I'm going to pay attention to the vibe, to their eyes, and see if I'm feeling invited. And if I'm feeling some sort of pull or attraction, I'll go over there and start a conversation. And if they're open to the conversation, I'll keep talking. If they're not, I will keep walking, right? So there are like these little subtle things that a woman might do where they could feel rejected if a man doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So we're not saying blanket statement men are getting more rejected than women. I will say, however, that after Me Too, I think men are a little bit more shy or reticent to approach any woman in public. When I've polled my audience, which is 85% women, what's yours, by the way?
85. Look at us.
Nice. We should want to see the exact numbers. When I
think
said,
it's 84.7.
Oh, well, I'll have to check and see who wins. Okay. I have polled my audience saying, as a woman, do you want to be respectfully approached by a man? Respectfully being the key word.
Right. Yes.
Half say yes, half say no. So
it's
like you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
It's a real risk. I got a question from a man being like, how do I approach a woman and compliment her on her looks? And I said, okay, great question. And I put that to my audience. And 3 takeaways. One was, don't tell me that I'm hot. If you're coming up to me and flirting with me, it's a given that you're attracted to me, that you think I'm hot. Also, and takeaway 2, like if you must compliment me on what I look like, compliment me on like a choice that I've made.
My style,
a tattoo, these earrings.
Don't talk about my tattoos.
And then there was that feedback of like a tattoo, like, let's not do that anymore anyways. But like, as long as it's a choice, it's not my body. I can't change my body. I can't change certain things about me. And so don't. But also like, don't. Takeaway 3 is just like, come up with something else to fucking talk about. It could be like, oh, you're getting that squash. What are you making with it? Right. Or it could just be like, whatever's happening in the environment, just start a conversation without it being an obvious flirt.
If she's like this, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
She's showing off her tattoos. It's okay.
Then go for it. Oh, wait, but what was the question?
Like men being rejected more. How is this shaping sort of
their
approach to dating?
I think, they're a little more skittish, and I think that's fine.
Okay. I just want to reply to everything that you said. Basically, don't tell them they're hot. Which is kind of basic. We could do better than this.
Yeah, we can do better. I think I would love it if a woman came up to me and told me I was hot. So what I'm doing there is I'm just like, well, then they must love it too, right?
Right, which is not the case.
It's not the case.
Okay, you already answered this, but there was a question from a woman saying, I never get approached in the wild and I'm out often. How can I signal that I'm single
Make
and
those
okay
eyes,
to talk to me?
flirt with those big, beautiful eyes.
The big, beautiful eyes, flaunt your style, smile.
Tell a man they're hot.
Yeah, but they want to be approached. They want to be
Okay.
approached.
Yeah. You can, I mean, I'm not a woman, so whatever, but like, I feel like you really can make it obvious. Like the sustained eye contact, the flirty little side smile that you can give them. You can like start up a little conversation and then see how they respond. Hopefully put yourself in position and they notice you. But it's hard because you got to make it feel like real safe for them.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. It is hard because I misread the signs recently.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a woman look at me like 4 times while we were at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then she left. And there was even a look and a smile. It wasn't like she didn't linger, but like, yo, you looked at me 4 times in the span of 30 minutes. Like we locked eyes. So when she got up to leave, I got up and I was like, hey, I'm sorry. Do we know each other? And she's like, no. I go, okay. She's like, what's your name? And I go, Shaun. She's like, I'm whatever, Janine. I go, all right, well, have a good day. And like, I just totally misread the thing, because when I went to talk to her, she wasn't really open to it at all. But here's the takeaway. I'm not going to let that stop me.
Good.
I'm not going to let that stop me.
Yeah. And that's going to happen. Like you have to allow that kind of shit to happen where you feel awkward or embarrassed. And there is a net positive eventually.
See, we're talking about the stuff that Scott Galloway tells us to do, but down to the granular. What does that actually look like? Right? Like,
yeah.
This is what it looks like. It looks like it can be very awkward and the success rate can be quite low.
It can be. And when, if I'm getting a sign or if it looks like I'm getting a sign from a woman and I approach them, I mean, well, more than half the time I'm not approaching them because I'm too nervous.
Right. Me too.
I'm psyching myself out or whatever. And then when I do, it's not as smooth as I ever want it to be. And even if it is kind of smooth, I'm looking back on it being like, come on, guy, you could have been smoother than that. What the fuck? You like fumbled that shit, right? Yeah. And there's a possibility that if it goes wrong or I misread it, my day's kind of ruined now, isn't it? So that fucking sucks. And if I'm like having a shitty day, well, the next 3 days are ruined, right? So there is risk involved, but you gotta do it.
You're literally answering the question of how is a man affected by rejection?
Well, there you go. I finally answered it.
Yeah, it can ruin your day. It could ruin your day. But at the end of the day, what's more important? Finding love, connecting with another person.
There you go.
Or feeling a little bad about yourself because you misread the situation.
Exactly.
I think it's a good skill to have. Right?
Oh my God.
I mean, it just requires a ton of courage.
Yeah. And it's a skill that carries over into other aspects of your life. Just feeling more brave and confident. And that's hot and sexy, Yeah,
that's how you'll get things in life that you want. Right? Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Should we end on a positive note?
Why not? Do you not want to? We can end on a sad one or a negative one if you'd like.
Okay. One more is like, this is such a weird question. This is from one of our followers. Do men expect women to initiate the first kiss?
Do men expect women to initiate?
This is such a weird question because to me, the answer is obviously no. Men are not expecting the woman to initiate the first kiss.
No. When you do a first kiss, do you ask for consent?
Always.
Or does it
always? Unless it's one of those situations where it's just so freaking inevitable. And it's just gonna happen and it's gonna happen. And that happened to me recently. She was kind of the one who leaned in. Like it was just gonna happen, But for the most part, this happened recently. I had some friends over and there was a new friend that was there and she was sort of lingering a little bit at the end of the night and her Uber was on the way and it still had 2 minutes before it got here. And she was like, okay, well, thanks for having me. And it was just like, there was a real linger there. And I was like, does she want to kiss? I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then I let the moment pass and she left. A few seconds later, I opened the door again and I said her name and she came back and I go, do you want to kiss? And she was like, yeah, I would really like to kiss.
Oh.
So do you want to kiss is sort of like, it's not, can I kiss you? I don't like, but do you want to?
Do you want to?
Is a little cuter. It's
is
not
cuter.
me taking something from you, like, can I kiss you? It's do you want more collaborative?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. I don't know, most of the time do some sort of like consenty thing like that. I think that there, like there are clues, right? Like she's sort of initiating by lingering,
Yeah.
right? So there is a bit of like women could be doing more initiating while they're like sending those nonverbal signals.
Yeah.
But the man typically, I guess, is going to like maybe make the move. I don't know, because that's just how it is.
She has to drop the handkerchief,
Exactly.
the Bridgerton handkerchief.
But there's sort of like the problem is solved because like you can just ask. If you're not reading the situation, then you just fucking ask and you're good and you get a response and that's that. And then you just do whatever the response says.
I mean, I polled my audience and half said yes, always ask. The other half said no, please just take it. And you're just like,
Right.
the last thing I want to do is get that wrong. Or like
Right.
I lean in and then they move their cheek and they turn their head.
Has that ever happened to you where they turn away or they kiss, but they don't really want to be kissing?
I don't think so. I just don't want it to happen.
I don't want it to happen. And I'm like, not that risk takey where I'm just like, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm going to go for it anyways. That's never been my DNA.
Yeah.
So usually it's more like I have a high success rate.
Right. Because they're into it.
Because I also love the tension of it all. So, I can see that we both want to do it. Let's fuck around here for a while.
Let's wait a little bit and see.
Let's wait. Let's do like the touch on the elbow. I really want a lot of reassurance because like now this is so hot to the point where like when we finally do kiss, it's a little sparky, explosive sort of.
I can appreciate that approach. I'm much more likely to just ask and get it out of the way.
Understandable.
Okay. Well, this was fun. I have a question. Where can we find you? I mean, obviously we know where to find you, but for those who don't know you.
If you like me here on this podcast, you'll probably like me on my podcast called Problem Solved. I mentioned it earlier. Folks call in with questions, then me and my therapist buddy, Alex, and I answer it. You can leave a question for the Problem Solved podcast at therapyjeff.com/podcast.
I was also a guest on that podcast.
It's true. Yeah. You can also go back and you were the last guest before I changed it to just me and my buddy. That's not because it wasn't a good podcast.
No, it's because it was so good that Jeff wasn't able to ever recreate it. And you always have to end on a high note.
Exactly.
We'll link to that episode in the show notes. You're also Therapy Jeff on all social media, Instagram, Therapist to the Stars.
That's right.
I guess I used to always finish it with this question of what does love mean to you? So I'm kind of curious if you have an answer.
It changes, I guess, whenever you decide to ask me that. Right now, currently, what love means to me is just like emotional safety to the point where like I can bring up hard stuff. I can have like big, complicated emotional experiences and you can be there holding that space for me and vice versa. Like love means just like being able to be my messy, emotionally authentic self and you being excited to receive it or experience it.
I love that.
Me too.
Thank you so much for your wisdom and also for being one of the first guests on the podcast relaunch.
Happy to be here and I will come back whenever you want me to.
Appreciate it so much.
Bye.
Ciao. And that's a wrap on episode 6 with Therapy Jeff. Check out his podcast, Problem Solved, at therapyjeff.com/podcast and find him everywhere as @therapyjeff. And also, thank you for listening. You have a million different podcasts that you could be listening to, and you chose to listen to this one. So that means a lot to me. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me and Jeff. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the episode. I read every single one and it really brings me a lot of joy. It's fun to receive your comments, your feedback. It helps a lot. Also, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. We have 399 reviews. I need to get to 1,000, believe it or not. The podcast currently is sitting at 4.9 stars. That's good. There's a couple 1-star reviews that are pretty hilarious to read. Somebody got mad at me for liking a post. I don't remember which post, but that was enough to leave me a 1-star review. So if you want to drown that review out with one of yours, that would mean the world to me. It takes about a minute. Go to your Apple Podcast app and just like find how to leave a review. You're smart. You can do this. And whoever you are, wherever you're listening, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Oh, okay. If you want to share your story or ask a question or give some feedback, call or text me at 415-494-9559. You could leave a voicemail to my Google Voice number or email me at podcast@thelovedrive.com. I have a retreat coming up. It's called Love Camp, June 5th, 6th, and 7th in Western Massachusetts. You are welcome. The link is in the bio. It's probably about halfway sold at this point. It's a fantastic weekend. It's a beautiful, beautiful weekend in Western Massachusetts, exploring the role of play in your life, how to bring more presence to all of your relationships, the importance of holding space. We talk about emotional availability. We go frolic in the lake. We have a cacao ceremony. It's a really beautiful time. So if you're interested in that, Love Camp, link in bio. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week.